USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Is anyone out there?
Another salesperson enduring the endless search. Exhausting. If you want to get right to the right conversations, you need LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Whether you're looking for new leads or strengthening existing relationships at your top accounts, get right to the right conversations with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Try LinkedIn Sales Navigator now with a free 60-day trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial.
Terms and conditions apply!
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
That moment was a transformative moment. To watch something that you had written suddenly bloom into something that you had never, ever imagined.
Hello, and welcome to another new episode of Live Through That. I'm your host, Mike Hipple, and on this podcast, we dig a little deeper into a pivotal moment into the lives of some of my favorite artists from the 80s and 90s. And we're back this week with a special bonus episode with Andy Prieboy. I hope you've listened to episode 76 and the fantastic story that Andy had shared with us there. There won't be any spoilers in this bonus episode, but there might be a few things that reference that story. After Andy tells me the story of the Trash Heap 78, he tells me about his favorite bit of the song. I'm reminded of this article I read by Tracy Thorn, and I'll put it in the show notes, where she talks about, quote, getting hooked by the tiny details, passing moments that offer fleeting glimpses of heaven. She calls these the best bits, and Andy has one from that song.
And one of the things I liked the most about this song is there's a passage with a woodblock solo. Listen to this. She sings this beautiful little melody. She goes, ya da 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 dee da da dun dun, and a guy on a woodblock goes, da 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 da, and they just pick it up right after that. He does a single woodblock solo, and I just love that. When I die, and if we get a heaven where we get to meet everybody, you know, like, I don't want to meet Voltaire. I really don't want to meet John Lennon. I don't want to meet those guys, but I want to meet that guy who plays the woodblock, that one little woodblock. That was so good, you know. And I was thinking, you have this space between musical passages. What are you going to do in there? Most arrangers will put like a guitar thing in it, or a flute, or a thing. They just do one little woodblock. And I realized there's another case of this. It's on a Sex Pistols song. I can't remember what Sex Pistols song it was, but it was like, you know, I hate you. Do. I hate you. It's great. Just that. What are we going to put there? Duh. Great.
Tomorrow, Wendy was one of the most interesting and iconic songs of the 90s, and a bit of a breakout for Andy as a songwriter. I wanted to know if that song had changed his life in any way.
No, it didn't really change my life. It was wonderful. It was wonderful that song got as much airplay as it did. You know, the fifth most requested song in Australia, which was just, you know, was Johnette's version, but still it was just an absolute thrill and an honor. But, you know, if you thought I was going to get a deal, there was some talk about a deal, and then, you know, hey, this guy's a great songwriter and let's get you on there. And nothing came from nothing. I had done an arrangement for Wall of Voodoo to do that song. I originally wanted the guys in Wall of Voodoo. I was going to do a 20-minute long version of it. And yeah, every guy in Voodoo was going to take a different character and sing a different verse. That's why the first verse is so choppy, because I wanted Mark Moreland to sing it, our guitar player, because that's the way he sings it. And then after a while, I was listening to the Voodoo version, and these guys had all gotten drunk and wandered off, and we weren't going to record anything anymore. And I thought, no, the song is going by too fast. Let's slow it down. And I thought, I'll ask Johnette to maybe sing the chorus. So I sent it to her. She learned it, and we went to the recording studio to do a demo of it, the slowed down demo that's on my solo version. And we hadn't rehearsed it. And we did a basic track, and she and I are in this boardroom at an office building at a demo studio. They have the microphone set up, and it's a long story, but it's a demo studio at MCA Music Publishing. And microphone here, I have my headphones on. She's got her headphones on. And I sing the first two verses, the first verse, and in the second verse, she sings the harmony, and yeah, that's pretty. And then all of a sudden, it's time for her to do the chorus. And she goes into the chorus, and I had never heard her sing this before. And if you could hear what's going on visually in that studio, it's me like this, looking at her like, holy God. It's just, that moment was a transformative moment, to watch something that you had written suddenly bloom into something that you had never, ever imagined. And it was just, suddenly her voice, she's soaring. And I'm just standing there next to her like, I couldn't believe it. It was just absolutely beautiful. That are the 10 moments I want to relive again when I die. If we get the afterlife we all deserve, that's going to be one of them. So I play that moment again where Johnette sings the chorus to Tomorrow, Wendy for the first time. I want to see that again. So, but as far as it being transforming my life, not on a business sense, no. It's, it's wonderful when I play it and people, I can hear them responding, and, I've watched Johnette sing it live, and it's fantastic. It's just an absolute honor and a thrill. And, it took me forever to write that song. So all that work, it's nice to see that, blossom, like I said. But as far as turning into like millions of dollars and big deals and Hollywood coming running.
So, when we first started talking, Andy told me that if the story about the 78 record wasn't working, he had a backup story that he could share with me. Well, obviously that story was amazing, but his backup story is too good to pass up, so we're sharing it here on the bonus episode.
So I was living in Echo Park in the early 90s. Echo Park at the time was still a mixture of old 1940s communists, bohemians from the 60s, and a lot of Central American immigrants. And there was a lot of gang activity. And it was kind of, again, it was like Hollywood from the 1920s with cancer. It was just a kind of a seedy, rundown little enclave before all the trust fund kids moved in. Anyway, so I was living in a little cul-de-sac, and it was Easter weekend. And Good Friday passed, Holy Saturday passed, Easter was over. And it was about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and I needed cigarettes. Now, at the time, I'm 140 pounds, I'm 6'1", and I have like this storm cloud of black teased hair, right? You don't go walking around looking like that at 3 o'clock in Echo Park at the time. You just don't do that. You've got to be really careful. Most people are great, and I loved all my neighbors. I loved all the people there, but every once in a while there was trouble, guns going off and that sort of stuff. You just had to be careful. So I said, well, I have to get cigarettes, because I was really, really a professional smoker. When I quit at 5 packs a day. So I really needed cigarettes. At this point, I was just up to 3 packs. But anyway, so it was Easter. To me, as a former Catholic, Easter is always a really weird time, because I've had bad experiences on the street especially on Holy Saturday, where people seem to think that, well, Jesus is dead, I can do whatever the fuck I want because tomorrow's Easter and I'll say I'm sorry. So I find Holy Saturday a really kind of explosively violent day for some reason. It's always been my experience. Anyway, so I had this kind of Easter paranoia. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I need to get cigarettes. I think it's late enough now on, Easter's past, tomorrow's work day. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to walk to the store, and the store is a mile away. I'm not driving at this point. I have not gotten my driver's license. I'm pushing 40, and I still have not gotten my driver's license. So I got to pick my spots when I'm going to be walking around with a storm cloud of black teased hair and cowboy boots and tight jeans and other stupid shit. At least I wasn't wearing tap shoes. Anyway, so I'm walking, just being careful, dark, Echo Park Boulevard, dark. And all of a sudden, this dude steps out of a doorway and stands in front of me, and he's big. He's another guy who's like 6'4", broad, chunky, big guy. And he says, "Hey, motherfucker, what are you doing with my coat?" He's like looking at me, and he's fucked up, and he's big, and there's nobody around. And he says, what are you doing with my fucking coat? And I think he's a man like I am a man. We both occupy this beautiful planet that God has given us. I can speak to him as a man to a man. I said, "I think you're mistaken. This is my coat. This is my coat." I say, respectfully, I said, "I think you're mistaken. This is my coat." He goes, then he gets really close to me and he says, "Motherfucker, this is my sidewalk. This is my street. This is my apartment. That's my fucking coat. What do you do with my fucking coat?" And I froze. And I said the first thing that came to my mind, which was, "I guess I'm just borrowing it." And he said, "Well, bring it back when you're done." I said, I will. I most certainly will. I'll bring it back when I'm done." He goes, "Be cool." I said, "You be cool too." And I walked off, and I thought there was only one right answer to that question. And somehow, without thinking, I landed on it.
Now, if you've listened to that first episode with Andy and are curious to know who Lorenzo's wife was, Andy lets us in on the story.
Who was Lorenzo's wife? Her name was Lily. And Lily was the queen of burlesque, Lily St. Cyr. Look her up. She was the queen of burlesque in the 40s and 50s. She was in a movie with Vincent Price. She was like, they would bring her in to play like the exotic dancer, and she was world famous. She had a lingerie store on Hollywood Boulevard. When you're growing up in the 60s, there were always ads in the back of like True Men's Story magazine that said "Exotic Fashions by Lily St. Cyr." And it's like, whoa, that kind of Fredericks of Hollywood. Lily St. Cyr, C-Y-R. I had no idea about her. I mean, she was just an old lady who lived in this building next door, and she was Lorenzo's wife. That's all I knew, Lily and Lorenzo. And she'd shuffle over in her little slippers going, "Lorenzo." And they'd be going back and forth, and then they'd get in a fight, and she'd be going, "You're impossible, Lorenzo." And she'd slam the door and walk out. They were together all the time like that, but she couldn't stand living with him because he was too messy. But my dope fiend girlfriend became friends with her. And my dope fiend girlfriend didn't know anything other than New York City rock and roll. And she goes, "That lady, Lily next door, she was a stripper. She had this, I had a lot in common with her. She was a stripper, and she had this lingerie store on Hollywood." And before she finished, I said, "Lily is Lily St. Cyr?" She goes, "You know who she is?" I went, "Fuck." And the thing about Lily is she looked like every old lady back then. Little puffy face, gray, house coat, little frizzy hair, like grandma. But when you would pass her, look at her picture. When you passed her, you'd see this old lady's face, and out of her head were these eyes, these incredible violet eyes. And you'd say, "Hi, Lily," and she wouldn't answer you. She wasn't being cold or mean. She was just assessing you. This is a stripper who has had every man in the world chasing her, and she's just assessing you. And I never ever bothered her.
Again, a huge thank you to Andy for taking the time to share some of his stories. Honestly, I could have talked with him for several more hours. I just know he's got lots more stories to share. As always, a quick reminder that you can buy my book on 80s musicians and where they are today, 80s Redux, and its sequel, Live Through That, on 90s artists wherever you buy your books. And if you like this show, please leave a review where you're listening. It always helps others find us. And of course, subscribe so that you won't miss an episode. Thanks for listening.